Another sort of pretty positive, steady summer day, which is encouraging.
Yeah, very. When you get a slow day like this and you get a market up 162, on a quiet manner. This is a good sign for the market. We're going to take out the old highs. That's where the market seems to want to go. So why get in the way of it? We've had a lot of headwinds that we've been able to go through. We keep saying, what happens if Trump does this with tariffs? The market's going to crumble. It doesn't. What happens if technology fails? It does. The market didn't crumble. These are all good signs for the market.
Abhay, with this news that Elon Musk is talking about taking Tesla private, it highlights this issue in really bold: stock buybacks, the elimination of equities, or the reduction in the number of equities out there, period. To what degree are you worried about the fact when Goldman Sachs says there's going to be $1 trillion worth of buybacks? Is this rally for real, or is it driven by engineering?
Hi, well, thanks, Michelle, for even having us on the show. But yeah, clearly, I think you mentioned earlier in the show how the number of companies listed has declined. And in fact, it's true in the United States, the number of stocks available for purchase on the NYSE is down by half. Now, we at Centerstone, we're long-term investors, we're value investors, and we're also global investors. And outside the United States, however, the phenomena is the exact opposite. There's been a 50% increase in the number of securities available for sale. So the choices are greater overseas. It's been a little easier to find stuff overseas to purchase. But that said, the Tesla kind of highlights the dichotomy between here and overseas, just in terms of the number of options available for you.
Rick, switching focus a little bit, what do you make of that Japanese real wage growth earlier and the implications it's got for the broader shape of the yield curve globally?
No, I think that's optimistic. It's nice to see the Japanese and their economy generate some good news. But I think it's a long way from success. And I really think the issue is not that they haven't made progress, but to think about it more from a cost-benefit analysis strategy. How much they've invested, how much they're going to be able to unwind over any foreseeable time frame in the future, and what they're actually getting. What's more, how much would have just occurred naturally versus without the big help from the Bank of Japan. I don't know those answers, but from an investor standpoint, those are the questions that they're most likely thinking about. The dollar index did kind of reverse just a bit today, Wilf, but not of any substance, a minor pullback at best. And what I think is fascinating is that we have a drift on the long end towards higher rates. We're only 2.5 basis points away again from 3%, even though the range has been rather narrow, but narrow isn't a bad thing, as we get ready for the two biggest pieces of data this week, which is always the light week after the employment reports. And of course, I'm referencing PPI and CPI. These will be important at the end of the week. And my guess is if they're even mildly on the hot side, we should be able to cross into the 3% zone.
Abhay, you mentioned outside the U.S. is where you're looking. We don't have much time. One or two countries outside the U.S. where you think there's opportunity. Sure,
mostly in Europe. Japan has kind of played out as far as I can tell, but especially the high-quality names there. But in Europe, we've purchased a couple of companies. One is Merlin. Merlin is probably unfamiliar to most of you, but you'll know their main asset, which is the Lego theme parks that they operate. Beyond that, there are lots of small mid-cap companies we're finding around Europe and also in the emerging markets, particularly in Asia and Latin America, where we're at Centerstone, we're able to deploy some assets.
Matt, very quickly, space for some ARB in Tesla, up to 420, or you're not certain enough on the news?
Oh, wow. This news here, it really conflicts a lot of us as far as traders go, what you're giving as far as a price target goes from the chairman of the company. But I certainly think there's some ARB situation. And when 3 out of 10 people say the stock's going down and the rest of the people say maybe 380, 390, now you're getting a 420 price target. Wow, there's some trading opportunities, definitely.